On Saturday morning, Volodymyr Zelensky sat down for an interview in Doha, Qatar, and said something that should have been the lead story on every single American news channel. He said Russia photographed an American military base in Saudi Arabia 3 times in the days before Iran attacked it and wounded American soldiers. March 20th, 23rd, 25th. Russian satellite image. March 26th. Iran fires 6 ballistic missiles and 29 drones at that same base. 15 American service members wounded. A $300 million AWACS surveillance aircraft, the most important airborne radar platform in the U.S. military, destroyed on the runway. And Zelensky's conclusion was not a maybe or a possibly. He said, "I don't believe they share information. I know they share information." Do they help Iranians? Of course. How many percent? 100%. This is not a conspiracy theory. This is the president of Ukraine, a country that has spent 4 years studying exactly how Russia uses its satellite network as a weapon, looking at the data from his own intelligence services and telling the world what he sees. And here's the part that makes this story even bigger. This was not the first time. This has been going on since the first week of the war. And the question that nobody in Washington wants to answer directly is, if Russia is helping Iran kill American soldiers, what is the United States going to do about it? Stay until the end, because the answer to that question, or more precisely, the absence of an answer, tells you something very important about where this war is actually heading. Let's start from the beginning. Because the Russia-Iran intelligence connection did not start on March 26th. It started on March 6th. That was the day the Washington Post first published a report citing 3 U.S. officials with knowledge of the matter. The report was direct. Russia had been providing Iran with the locations of American warships and aircraft in the Middle East since the very start of the war. Not occasionally, consistently. A senior official described it to the Washington Post as a pretty comprehensive effort. 2 days later, NBC News confirmed the same story independently, citing 4 separate sources. Their reporting added a specific detail. Much of the intelligence Russia shared with Iran came from Moscow's sophisticated satellite constellation. Russia has one of the most capable overhead imagery networks in the world. Iran has a small number of military satellites. Russia has dozens. And according to U.S. intelligence, those Russian satellites have been pointed at American bases, American ships, and American aircraft throughout this conflict. And the data has been flowing to Tehran. CNN confirmed the story separately. Their source added one more detail that did not get enough attention. An Iranian drone struck a makeshift facility housing U.S. troops in Kuwait, killing 6 American service members. The timing, the precision, the target selection. Intelligence officials told CNN they cannot rule out that Russian targeting data contributed to that strike. Let that sink in for a moment. American soldiers may have been killed with Russian help, in a war that Russia is officially not a part of. Now here is where the story gets even more complicated. Because the U.S. government's public response to all of this has been, at best, inconsistent. When the Washington Post first broke the story on March 6th, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth was asked about it at a Pentagon press conference. His answer, "Russia and China are not really a factor." That was his exact phrasing. Not really a factor. Steve Witkoff, Trump's special envoy and the person leading back-channel communications with Moscow, told reporters that Russia had personally assured Trump it was not sharing intelligence with Iran. He said Trump believed them. Then on March 10th, Trump himself was asked about it by Fox News reporter Peter Doocy. Trump's response, what a stupid question that is to be asking at this time. A reporter asking whether a nuclear-armed adversary is helping kill American soldiers is a stupid question. And that was the president's answer. Meanwhile, Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov went on French television and denied providing intelligence to Iran. In the same interview, he confirmed Russia had sent military equipment to Iran under their long-standing alliance. So, no intelligence. But yes, weapons. That is what Moscow's official position sounds like right now. And then came March 26th. And what Zelensky revealed on March 28th changed everything, because now we are not talking about anonymous U.S. officials citing general intelligence patterns. We are talking about specific dates, a specific base, a specific attack, and a specific outcome. 15 American soldiers wounded, a $300 million aircraft destroyed. The Zelensky data is precise. March 20th, March 23rd, and March 25th. Russian satellites over Prince Sultan Air Base in Al-Kharj, Saudi Arabia. The same base where thousands of American and Saudi troops are stationed. The same base that Iran hit on March 26th with a carefully coordinated package of 6 ballistic missiles and 29 drones. Zelensky explained the pattern from Ukraine's own experience. The first image is reconnaissance. They are measuring, assessing, planning. The second image is simulation. They are confirming target coordinates, practicing the strike sequence in their planning systems. The third image means the decision has been made. The attack is coming within 1 or 2 days. 3 images over 5 days, attack on day 6, and it was not just Prince Sultan. Zelensky's intelligence briefing also showed Russian satellites over the US-UK joint base at Diego Garcia in the Indian Ocean on March 24th, over Kuwait International Airport on March 24th, over part of the Greater Bergen oil field, one of the largest oil fields in the world. On the same day, Russia is not just helping Iran hit U.S. military bases. Russia is building a comprehensive targeting picture of American and allied military and energy infrastructure across an enormous geographic area. The Middle East, the Indian Ocean, the Persian Gulf. This is what Zelensky meant when he said Putin wants a long war in the Middle East. He spelled out the logic directly. Higher oil prices mean more revenue for Russia. The temporary lifting of some U.S. sanctions on Russian oil, which happened as part of back-channel negotiations around the Iran conflict, means even more money flowing into the Kremlin. Every week this war continues, Putin earns. Every American missile fired at Iran is 1 fewer missile available for Ukraine. Every interceptor burned defending bases in Saudi Arabia is 1 fewer interceptor available to shoot down Russian missiles over Kyiv. Zelensky said it plainly. If sanctions on Russia are lifted, Putin will get more money, much more money, and he will put this money into weapons. He was describing a system, and a deliberate, calculated system by which Russia profits from a war it is not officially fighting. And then there is the China dimension. It's because Russia is not the only major power whose fingerprints are appearing in unexpected places. CNN reported this month that U.S. intelligence has concluded China may be preparing to provide Iran with financial assistance, spare parts, and missile components. Beijing has not acted on this yet, because China relies heavily on Iranian oil and has been quietly pressuring Tehran to allow safe passage for vessels through the Strait of Hormuz. China wants the war to end because it endangers their energy supply, one intelligence official said. But if the war continues and Iran faces existential pressure, the calculation in Beijing could change. Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi confirmed the broader picture in an interview with NBC News. He said Iran was receiving political and other assistance from both Russia and China, and when asked specifically whether that included military assistance, he declined to give details. Long-standing military cooperation between Iran and Russia, he said, is not a secret. He is right. It is not a secret. The question is what America does about it. And here's where we get to the most uncomfortable part of this entire story. The part that explains why Trump called Peter Doocy's question stupid. The part that explains why Hegseth said Russia is not really a factor. Trump has spent 2 years building what he describes as a personal relationship with Vladimir Putin. He has repeatedly said he and Putin get along very well. He has claimed that Putin would never have invaded Ukraine if Trump had been president. And throughout this war, Trump has publicly signaled that he wants Russia to play a positive diplomatic role, potentially as a mediator, potentially as a partner in any post-war settlement with Iran. That entire strategic framework depends on Russia being a neutral party, or at least a manageable one. The moment the United States officially acknowledges that Russia is actively helping Iran target and kill American soldiers, that framework collapses. The diplomatic channel that Trump and Witkoff have been carefully cultivating with Moscow becomes politically untenable. The sanctions relief that was quietly extended to Russia as a goodwill gesture becomes impossible to defend publicly. So instead, the administration says, not really a factor. Stupid question. Putin assured us he's not doing it. Meanwhile, U.S. intelligence officials are telling the Washington Post, NBC News, and CNN, on the record, on background, with specific details, that it is happening, that it has been happening since day one, and that it contributed to American soldiers being wounded and a $300 million aircraft being destroyed. There is a word for a situation where a country's government says one thing publicly and its own intelligence community says something completely different. That word is not comfortable to say out loud when American lives are at stake. Here is what we actually know as of today, March 30th, 2026. Russia photographed an American military base 3 times in 5 days. Iran attacked that base. 15 Americans were wounded. A surveillance aircraft worth $300 million was destroyed. The president of Ukraine, who has been watching Russia do exactly this kind of satellite-guided targeting for 4 years, went on NBC News and said he is 100% certain Russia is feeding Iran the intelligence it needs to hit American targets. Russia denies it. The White House calls it a stupid question. The Pentagon says it's not really a factor. And yet the intelligence community keeps leaking. Because people inside the U.S. government believe the American public has a right to know that their soldiers are being targeted with help from a country that the president publicly calls a potential partner. The question this story raises is not just about Russia and Iran, it is about the fundamental credibility of America's response to this war. You cannot simultaneously negotiate with a country in good faith and acknowledge that country is helping kill your soldiers. You have to choose. And right now, the Trump administration appears to be choosing not to choose, which is itself a choice with consequences. What happens when Congress gets hold of this story? How the intelligence community's continued leaking shapes the public debate, and whether there is any scenario in which the United States formally confronts Russia over its role in this war. That is what I am covering in the next episode. If you found this valuable, subscribe to Alex P.S. Insights. This is where I connect the dots between the stories that the official statements are designed to keep separate. I will see you in the next one. See.